Hi guys, welcome to the interactive and geographical plotting lecture. There are a number of options for creating graphics in Python. Much development efforts are focused on creating interactive graphs in the recent years. Plotly and Bouquet are commonly used tools for interactive graphics in Python. However, Plotly is getting much popularity and it is easy to use. In this lecture, we will learn the interactive plotting using this state-of-the-art library. We will also discuss the Plotly's capabilities for geographical plots at the end. Please note, Plotly is an interactive visualization library, whereas Cufflinks binds Plotly directly to Pandas data frames. So, in order to do interactive plotting directly from our data frames, we need to install the current version of both of these libraries. We need to install Plotly and Cufflinks. I hope at this stage you are familiar with installing Python packages. Plotly and Cufflinks are not currently available through Conda, but they are available through pip. We can install these libraries at our command line or terminal using pip install plotly and pip install cufflinks. Make sure you only have one installation of Python on your computer. So pause this lecture here and install plotly and cufflink before we move on. I hope you are done with this installation. Let's get started with some examples. So let's start with the new Jupyter notebook, File, New Notebook and Python 3. And here we are in our working Jupyter notebook. We need to do some imports first. Let's import pandas, numpy and set matplotlib inline. So import pandas as pd, import numpy as np, matplotlib inline and run this cell. Now we are going to do some offline imports for Plotly. Before this, check your Plotly version. Anything above 1.9.4 is good to go with offline plotting. If you have installed the current version of Plotly, you are good to go. Let's check the version of our Plotly. So from Plotly import version and then print. Let's run this cell. So our version is 2.4.1. So we are good to go. Little bit on Plotly. As a hosting company, Plotly provides a web service for hosting graphs. Plotly supports online public hosting of our data visualization for free. Because we are using Plotly as an open source library and we want to create graphs offline and save them locally in our machine, we need to do some offline imports for this purpose. Let's do some offline imports first. So we have to import from plotly.offline import download plotly.js and from plotly.offline import init notebook mode. We need to import init notebook mode so that we can work within the Jupyter notebook. And the next one from plotly.offline import plot and iplot. So let's run this cell here. Let's import cufflinks as well. Import cufflinks as cf and let's run this cell. Let's add few cells here. So we have already imported init notebook mode, this one here. To work within Jupyter Notebook environment, we need to initiate the Plotly notebook mode. To do this, we need to set it true at the start of each notebook session. Let's do this for the current notebook. So init notebook mode connected equal to true, and let's run this cell. Cufflinks can also be configured to work offline in Jupyter Notebook with Plotly offline. To do this, we need to run cf.go_offline. So cf is our cufflinks here. cf.go_offline, and let's run this cell. So we are set for our work with Plotly and cufflinks now. We need dataset. Let's generate some dataset to work with. Once again, we can use NumPy to generate our dataset. Let's use randn from numpy.random to generate 100 rows and 4 columns at the moment. We can name the columns as A, B, C, and D. So our data frame is df1 equal to pd dot data frame, pass in np dot random dot randn, and say we want 100 rows and 4 columns, and we want to name our columns. Pass in the list A, B, C, and D. So let's run this cell and check the head of our data frame. So df1.head, and here we have our data frame. We have 4 columns and some random numbers in our data frame. Let's create another small data set with only 2 columns. We can get fruits and counts in 2 columns. So let's create a dictionary for that one. So dictionary is, say, fruit, and pass in the list of fruits. Say we have apple, banana, pear, mango. And the other column, count, equal to pass in list, like we have 32 apples, we have 43 bananas, we have say 50 pears, and say once again 32 mangoes. Let's run this cell, add few cells, pass in this dictionary to pandas. So our data frame df2 will be pd dot data frame, and we pass in this dictionary. And let's check the head of our data frame at the same time and run this cell. So here we have df2 with counts and fruits, apple, banana, pear, mangoes, and these are the counts for all these fruits. So now we have set cufflinks, Plotly, and we do have data as well. So we are all set for interactive plotting. Let's start with our very first interactive plot. Remember, if we call just plot, pandas will generate plot with matplotlib. Changing plot to iplot do the magic, and the plot is interactive. So what we need to do, instead of plot, we are calling iplot. Remember, if you call just plot, like if we call df1.plot and run this cell, pandas generate a plot with matplotlib. Changing plot to iplot is doing the magic here. Let's run this iplot, and here we have a very different plot, which is interactive plot. So this is really easy. Let's fit this on the screen. So we have interactive plot of our data. We only changed plot to iPlot, and we are getting this interactive plot. If you move the cursor on this plot, notice the options on the right corner of your plot. We have range of options: save, zoom, zoom in, zoom out, auto scale, and so on. If we go to the legend, we can turn anyone on or anyone off within one click. So we can see on the plot what we want. Let's try to turn off A, B, and C. So now we have only D column in our plot. We can turn A, B, or C on with only one click. Let's turn on A. So here we have A and D on our plot. So we have range of options with cufflinks and iPlot using kind parameter as well. We can plot scatter, bar, and all kinds of different plots. Let's try some commonly used plots using kind parameter. So what we need to do, copy this one, paste it here. Let's add few cells. You can always press Shift Tab to explore more on the document string. Let's pass in kind equal to scatter, and our data is x equal to A, y equal to B, and let's run this cell. So here we have. If we don't pass in the mode here, the plot will connect all the points with lines. So to get the proper scatter plot, we need to pass in mode equal to markers. So if we run this cell, here we have our scatter plot. We can change the size, like size equal to say 15. We have bigger markers. Let's change this to 40. These are very big markers. So the ideal size is somewhere between 10 and 15. So let's pass in 10. Once again, if you don't pass in mode, it will start connecting all the data points with lines. If you move cursor to any data point, you will get the value of that data point here. Let's try another plot with our data frame df2. So df2 iPlot and kind equal to, let's see, we want bar plot here, and our x is fruit and our y is count. And if we run this cell, so we have a bar plot now: apples, banana, pear, mangoes, and we have count along y-axis. Let's try box plot with our data frame df1. So df1 dot iPlot and kind equal to box. If we run this thing, we are getting the box plot. So it's very simple. You have cufflinks and plotly, and you only need to use iPlot instead of plot. Let's turn A off. Let's turn D off. So we have B and C on our box plot only. We can turn these on anytime, and now we have all four on our box plot. So if we move our cursor to any box, it is telling us min, Q1, median, Q3, and max. And for each plot, we can find all these values. Let's try another plot with kind equal to surface. To do this, let's generate some data for better surface plot so that we understand how the surface plot works. So our data frame is df3 pd dot data frame. So we pass in x as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, y 10, 20, 30, 20, and 10 again, and z 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So here it is, and y and z. Let's run this cell. This should be within the curly brackets. So here we have, and let's run this cell again. Let's check the head of our data frame now. So df3.head, run this cell. Here we have our data frame X, Y, Z with 3 columns. So let's pass in kind equal to surface now. So df3.iplot, and our kind is, we want surface plot for our data frame df3. Let's run this cell, and here it is. This is the magic. We can rotate, we can move around, we can zoom. So only kind equal to surface with iplot is doing this magic. Let's try another one, kind equal to hist, on our data frame df1. So df1, so we want to have a histogram for column A in our data frame. So grab the column and call iplot and pass in kind equal to hist, and let's run this cell. This is our interactive histogram for our column A in data frame df1. We can pass in bin size, say 50, and here we have different bin size. Another very useful kind we can pass in is spread. Spread is usually used for stock data. It gives the plot and a spread between 2 selected columns. Let's grab 2 columns from our data frame df1, column A and column B. Call the iplot, pass in kind equal to spread, and run this cell. And now here we have a plot and the spread between 2 columns at each point. These type of plots are very useful in stock data. Moving forward, another very useful kind that we already learned in the previous lectures, let's pass in bubble here. Once again, we can grab our data frame df1, call iplot, kind equal to bubble, and our X is, say, A, Y is, say, B, and if you remember, we can pass in the size here as C. And if we run this cell, here we have a bubble plot. This is very similar to the scatter plot. And I hope you remember, we can use bubble to show the third dimension as the size of the bubble. Like in this case, we have A and B along X and Y axis, where our C is representing the size of bubble. These plots are very common in plotting world GDP, happiness, and similar plots. And they are quite useful in United Nations reports. So moving forward, let's talk about another function, which is scatter matrix. This is similar to Seaborn's pair plot. Let's call scatter matrix on our data frame df1. So df1 dot scatter matrix, and run this cell here. So similar to Seaborn's pair plot, now we have a summary of our complete dataset using scatter matrix in interactive form. So you have seen that it's so easy to do interactive plotting when you have Plotly and cufflinks installed on your computer. Only a small change, like from plot to iplot, is doing the magic. So let's split this lecture here. It's getting long. In the next lecture, we will talk about geographical plotting. See you in the next lecture. Good luck.